All right, Mr. Lavasser again with you, and we're finishing side 2 of this lesson on 5 key words to help you understand academic language and to analyze science writing. Let's take that assignment out and head to side 2. So this is what you should have accomplished. We've read through all of this. You filled in this table. We've highlighted this together. You filled in this table with words that you've highlighted of entities, processes, properties, and circumstance. And you've just clicked on this lesson here, this video lesson for side 2. So section 4 is made of 3 paragraphs, and we're going to read the paragraphs, and we're going to just focus on finding the processes, the action words, and the vocabulary terms, specific vocabulary words for science or for language acquisition. And anytime we see a definition, we're going to highlight that in blue. And after section 4, we're going to go back and look at those 3 paragraphs, and we're going to find, again, 5 examples of entities in those 3 paragraphs, 5 examples of processes, 5 examples of properties or descriptions, and 5 examples of circumstance. And then we're going to write a short open response using the Peel pattern. So, section 4, instructions. Read and highlight using functional language analysis. Follow the key on the right. And here's that key. So, science is the systematic and rational study of nature. Well, that sounds like a definition right out of the gun, right out of the get-go there. So I'm going to open this up with blue, and I'm going to say science is the systematic and rational study of nature. There's a definition. And I'm going to switch over to vocabulary words, yellow. Science is systematic because it uses the process of discovering information known as the scientific method. The scientific method is a process of discovering information about nature by asking questions and performing experiments. Notice that the end of that sentence introduced a new topic, and that new topic was scientific method. And then the next sentence begins with scientific method, and you define it. It's defined there for you. Introduce an idea, follow with the definition. So I'm going to go back to my blue highlighter and highlight the definition of the scientific method. Scientific method is a process of discovering information about nature by asking questions and performing experiments. Science is rational because it uses the concept of scale to divide nature into understandable sizes. So the concept of scale, that's a new term. Rational, concept of scale. And what is the concept of scale? It's dividing nature into understandable sizes. Nature is so big, we can't understand it. We have to divide it into smaller and smaller pieces. And based on our previous lesson, you know what those 3 pieces are that we start with. We have all the natural sciences studying nature. We divide that into the biological sciences, the physical sciences, and the earth space sciences. So, and then we can divide the biological sciences into smaller sciences, the physical sciences into chemistry and physics, and we can divide the earth space sciences into many different smaller sciences as well. So we'll keep dividing to better understand nature. That's what we're doing with these words too. We're breaking and we're analyzing these paragraphs, and we're breaking them into smaller pieces so that we can more deeply understand and comprehend. I'm going to put yellow there. And so next, I'm going to leave these next ones for you to do. I'm going to go back and find some of these processes. And we know that the 4 most common verbs in science writing are going to be is, are, has, and have. And I think that we'll see that here. For example, science is the systematic and rational study of nature. Science is systematic because it uses the process of discovering information known as the scientific method. Scientific method is a process of discovering information about nature by asking questions and performing experiments. Science is rational because it uses the concept of scale to divide nature into understandable sizes. Mathematics or math is the science of numbers and number operations. And that looks like a definition to me. Mathematics is the science of numbers. And like I said, I'm going to allow you to do the rest of that. And so you want to come down here and do the section on math. And then here's a paragraph about the concept of scale. The concept of scale dates back to the ancient Greek philosopher Aristotle. Aristotle taught that to understand something complex like nature, you divide it into smaller and smaller sections, and then organize and categorize those sections. That's what science is really about. Dividing nature, something that's very big and impossible to understand as a whole, into smaller and smaller pieces. And then we compare the sizes of those pieces and we organize those pieces into things that have similarities. And so please finish that. And that will bring you to this. That will bring you to this table here. Working in small groups, section 5. And I'm going to type in instructions. Instructions, work in small groups. From the 3 paragraphs above, find and list 5 entities, processes, properties, and circumstances. And let's go up there and get a couple of examples. Well, science is an entity. Science is an entity. And we know that is a very common process or action in science writing. Let's see if we can find an adjective. Rational study. What kind of a study? A rational study. So that describes the kind of study and circumstances. About nature, by asking questions about nature, would be an example of a circumstance. It's in that neighborhood, or it points to that, about. So there you have a start to that. Now the last section here is an open response question, and I want you to become really good at answering open response questions. And so, especially in science, it's almost always going to be either an argument, or more importantly, it's going to be a description, or particularly a explanation. So here we're asked to do what? Based on your knowledge and text, and the text above, explain what science is. That's our prompt. That's what we're being asked to write. So let's read the instructions. Instructions. Write an open response based on the prompt. Use extra paper if needed. Use the PEAL pattern in your answer. P-E-E-L. Sentence 1, present your idea. Let me see if I'm gonna get a highlighter going here. PEAL. P, present your idea using the prompt's language. Sentence 2, explain or define the idea. In this case, it's going to be science. So P, present, use the prompt's language. E, explain. The next E, give examples of science. And the last one, close by connecting or linking the example to the definition. And I need to put that word in there. I need to put that one. Close. And I'm going to take out the word connecting and put in the word linking, because that's what L stands for. How did I mess that up? Close by linking the example to the definition. So there's the P, present using the prompt, explain number 2, example, number 3, link, number 4, PEEL. And examples can often be, you can cite evidence. You can cite textual evidence as your example. And you can just use the definition to give your explanation often when you write these. So let's do that. Let's do that. Let's start this together. And so I suggest that you highlight the lines unless you're actually writing over this. And let's start with the prompt. The prompt says, based on your knowledge in the text above, explain what science is. So I'm going to start with based on my knowledge about science. I know that science is a way of knowing about nature. And we watched that video about the science being a way of knowing. So that's from my knowledge base from that video. Now I'm going to use, and I'm going to define it, and I might even use this textual evidence. Let's go up above and we can see that science is the systematic and rational study of nature. This text defines science as the systematic and rational study of nature. Whoops, I wrote this test. I want this text defines science as the systematic and so now I've got my present where I've used the prompt. I've got my my explanation or my definition. Now I need an example. Examples of science, I'm going to say sciences, include, and based on your and I'm going to put a colon, based on your our study that we had in one of the earlier assignments, you should be able to name, I'm going to put 3 dots there. That's called an ellipsis. That means that you've got information that you can add there. And based on one of our earlier assignments, you should be able to name different sciences. And so you can give examples of sciences. And then you want to link them together. So let's make a last sentence. These examples of sciences all study aspects of nature. So I've tried to help you write that, and you don't, by any means, you don't have to stick to this. If the best you can do is copy mine, then go ahead and copy it. You can appropriate mine, and you want to list sciences here where I left them out. But I hope that you can do this on your own. And I want to point out some things to you. Okay. So what did we do? We first started, we used the prompt. Based on my knowledge, based on your knowledge. And then we introduced the idea. I know something about science. Science is related to nature. So I presented my idea, and I used the prompt. Next, example, explanation. So I used a definition, and I used textual evidence. Examples, I gave examples of science, and those are in some of our earlier assignments. So I did my present the idea, I did my explanation, now I gave examples, and the last thing I did is I linked the examples to the definition. And sometimes with the linking stage, if you're writing many paragraphs, you link what you've written in that paragraph to what you're going to talk about next. Or you can link you can go back and link the first sentence to the earlier sentences and tie it all together. So there you go, my friends. Thank you for your attention. I appreciate you, and I'm glad that you finished this, and I look forward to reading it.